Hi everyone, now we're doing Dear Dietitian, where we answer your questions and we have a good mixed bag today. So,
Yeah, no, really good inspired.
first question is
From Facebook, we have one question. Should you take a holiday?
so I just came back from a break or holiday. My answer to this, I answered a little bit in Dietitian life, but basically for me, I think it all depends on who you are as a person, where you are at in your career and what you want to achieve. I believe that you need to be in tune with what you need as a person and in your life to then make that decision. So I don't think anyone should impose the will of a holiday on you, or that you should listen to them saying, you need a holiday, you need a holiday, you need a holiday, unless you are so not in tune with yourself that someone else can see you need it and you're not listening to reason. Um, so yeah. What is your, like, I know you usually say you should take a holiday, you should take a break, because then you come back revitalized and you're more energized about it.
Yeah.
So do you think that's always true? You think that's true for most people?
Sometimes, I guess, it depends on, yeah, I think all those factors need to be considered. As I've gotten older, I certainly don't feel like I need to take a break or a holiday. I feel like I'm constantly, I think things will just get too backed up from my point of view. But certainly, people need it. But sometimes the stress of actually going on a holiday, work backing up, missing things, that for some people can be really stressful. So some people might literally just need a weekend away, or even just closing their computer or not working for a couple of days. They may not necessarily need to go away on a holiday, or they may not financially either be able to go away on a holiday as well.
But I think if we define holiday as break or
break,
time off, then
100%. I think everybody does need it.
at some point, in some way, shape, or form. Like my weekly break is playing football on a Friday night or going for a surf. That clears my head of everything. And I do go a little bit insane or annoyed if I don't get those things. So I think everyone needs some kind of release. It just depends on how much, how often. That's pretty much my 2 cents. But I would say, don't take a year-long holiday immediately after you graduate. Just don't do it. That's just, put yourself on the back foot so hard.
But I think definitely a break after uni is really, really important, and a holiday, because you don't really have any work. You finish your assignments, you finish your exams or whatever, but certainly not 12 months. Like a month, a couple of months.
Why?
It's good for them.
Maybe.
They've worked pretty hard.
Maybe. they have months off every year. Uni's like the easiest time.
Oh, okay.
I'm presenting at a conference on Friday, and this is something that I was bloody thinking about, is that, like, when we were at school, a lot of people didn't like school because, like, oh, fuck, I don't want to go to school, hate school, blah, blah, blah. Then you finish school and then you have to work. You're like, shit, this is way harder than school. I want to go back to school.
Yeah, I know, but nobody has that insight, Tyson, until they get out.
Yeah, but I'm giving them the insight. Uni is easy as shit. That is the easiest time of your life. Get to surf, like 4 hours of the day, go to 3 hours of classes, miss the lectures, go to the tutorials, go to the labs. and then you get a degree at the end. Like, all you have to do is do a few assignments. Like, most of you cram the night before and smash it out then. Like, after you've gone to festivals and holidays throughout the year. Uni's easy. Anyway, that's a side rant. Next question.
Okay. All right, so this one's on Instagram. Client conversations re follow-up phone calls if they've missed or not attended their appointment. Should you do it? How should you approach it? What should you say?
Client conversations, you go. This is yours.
Sorry, a lot of the time, people may not come back for appointments that they've either missed, they've cancelled, they haven't rebooked. Should we call them up, chase them up, get them to come back in?
Should you?
Depends on the client. Sometimes if they do cancel or don't turn up at the last minute, if you've seen them for an initial consult, you could probably guarantee that they are just trying to skip out on that follow-up appointment and they felt bad. So therefore, if you do follow up with a phone call, they may or may not actually answer it. If it was a client that, yeah, for sure, 100% let you know that they weren't coming, and then they would say that they would call you back and then they forgot about it, it's all dependent on the client. So I would just vet it with, you've seen them, you know what they're like, do they actually want to come back? Did they just forget?
What's the danger in calling everyone?
Yeah, you're wasting time for people that really, they should be proactive about their own health. Though most of the time, people are just busy and they literally just do forget. And I've had instances where I've called them back and they've thanked me for that, and then continued to see me on a regular basis. So you will get that as well. So it is just it can be a challenge because obviously people do forget. But absolutely can be an absolute waste of your time.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, really. And maybe you should be focusing your time on other things.
What about reminder texts and stuff prior to preventing the issue happening?
Yeah, it does make a difference. Phone calls are better.
Yeah.
So generally
Why?
Well, because there's that degree of obligation if you're on the end of the phone and you have to say no to the person at the end of the phone and make them feel bad. Yeah. Or versus, oh no, sorry. So say we have a policy where we do send reminder text. If they don't respond within the day, then we'll follow up with a phone call and then try and chase them down that way. It really depends on the way you operate, the way your medical centre or your practice might operate, but that's a really good protocol. But I can guarantee that if you don't remind people, even if they're the most switched on, they want to come and see you, they're not going to turn up for their appointment. The oldies, generally they'll remember, but our generation, even 40s and 50s, most of the time forget.
Yeah, especially we've got kids as well. Kids are an issue. School holidays are a nightmare.
Yeah, just forget.
Don't think that school holidays, they have more time. They have less. They just think, you get so many no-shows.
Yeah.
And rain. Rain can be a bitch at times. Like, people just don't want to go out, especially if they're a bit older.
I think if there's anything that I take home from some of the clients that I work with is if it's a client that is complex, not crazy, but complex, and you are working through processes of like food eliminations or challenges or something specific where you actually do need to get them to come back, I'd probably make note of who they are. And if they do skip out on their appointment, you do want to make sure you get them to come back. Particularly because you know that their health can be affected if you continue with something that they only saw you once in the consult and you were supposed to then continue on with that education. That would be really, really important.
And then the other thing I would say is people with weight loss clients, a lot of them won't come back because they feel like they haven't implemented the initial plan and they feel bad that they would have gained weight or haven't lost any weight. So having that conversation over the phone can sometimes turn them into coming back because you can talk about, all right, well, how about we just revise everything and start from scratch and make sure it's achievable and this and that. So being able to negotiate with the client over the phone can be really useful. But overall, the answer to the question is it depends.
Yeah, so individual based on the client. I would, and I've done both. And other people, I'm like, oh, damn, missed out on them. They didn't come back.
Next.
What is the difference between Isaac level 2 and Isaac level 1, and should I bother?
Depends on what you want to achieve. So Isaac level 2 is basically you're going to be a more accurate practitioner for the restricted profile, which is the skin folds, which most sporting teams and things of that nature use, and that's why most people get an Isaac level 1 qualification. Getting level 2 means you do a full pro forma, so you're doing, basically its use is mostly in research or in talent identification. So you're measuring things like shoulder and chest breadth, different girths and bone breadths across the body. But really it's about increasing your ability to be more accurate, both internally to your own measurements, but also personally with other practitioners who are Isaac qualified.
So should you recommend that most people would just do Isaac 1?
Isaac level 1 for 98% of the population will be all you need. The reason I did level 2 is because I wanted to be a level 3 and I wanted to be able to train other dietitians in Isaac qualifications, and you can only do that when you get to Isaac level 3. really, I thought about that. No, because you need to have, so to upgrade up, it's not just like pay your fee and you go do it. Like it's $550 just for the Isaac level 1 the last time I checked, and then it's like another $850 to get level 2. Then you've got to do revision kind of stuff to keep your accreditation. But then on top of that, you need to then show, like, so to get from Isaac level 2 to Isaac level 3, there's this massive test you got to do. You need to show that you've used it over X number of years, most like at minimum 5, 6+ years. And then, and then you can apply for it. And then it's a ridiculous amount of money, and only so many courses happen. And usually Mike Marvel-Jones from New Zealand will come over. He's like the king of it, started, or pretty much president of it, blah, blah, blah. And we'll train up. And he's like Isaac level 5. There's only like 3 or 4 or something like that in the world. So yeah, it's not something that happens often. So at the end of the day, you're going to be more accurate if you're a level 2, but for the most part, do level 1. You don't need to do a level 2. Yeah.
All right, next question. What would you say is the most important thing when you're working in hospital?
Most important thing when you're working in the hospital. So it depends. It really does depend on the hospital, private or public, how that hospital works. But for me, the most important thing would be team communication. So it would 100% be getting nurses on side. At the end of the day, they're going to have way, way more contact with the client than what you are, with the patient than what you are. So if there's anything around doing a food record of anything of that nature, making sure someone got the right meal, helping them at meals, just implementing a supplement regime to your specifications without the nurses knowing you or caring, you're not going to be successful. And a lot of the time nurses have a buttload of things to do. So sometimes
how would you recommend
nutrition,
people like,
take them out for a drink, no.
Offer them food.
No, get free consults, done all of it. But no, I think it's just open lines of communication and then helping them out where you can. So coming from the point of view of trying to help them rather than them helping you. Because if they're constantly being told by everyone to do this, do that, and adding an extra thing to the workload, which is what it is, and yes, they care about the client, but they've got a lot of work to do, and a lot of the time, depending on the hospital again, but a lot of the time they're overworked. They have less staff than what they require for certain things, and they've got to do like things like wound dressings and all of those things that we would never want to do, which is why we're not nurses, and clean people up and all of that. So I think making it as easy as possible, doing as much work as you can to make that process easy. So that means, like, if you're doing a supplement sheet or some prescription, that you are actually going and putting in the medical notes where it's easy for them to read. You're telling the nurse that you've put it there, you've put it in the bedside chart, you've made sure that the fridge is stocked with the supplements that you need, even though it's not your job. Like, I wasn't in mine in the private hospital, but nurses just didn't have the time to do it or didn't do it. Some ended up doing it. The good ones, I say the good ones, meaning the ones that I had the best relationship with, given that they were always on shift when I was there. And I think that's it. It's just building that relationship with that team, particularly nurses, is important. Doctors can be useful, but a lot of time you won't see them for very long, and they're even shorter on time, and you will feel like they don't care. I'm sure they do, they just don't have any time. So the nurses is where you're going to get your biggest wins. So focus on that when you get into a hospital. Become their friend, they'll love you, and you will probably get more referrals, and they'll actually follow through with what you recommend.
That's a good answer. Thanks, Tyson.
That's all right. You're like, oh yeah, that's not bad. Tyson knows at the hospital.
Yeah, you would have been there. Okay, so next question. What happens in a menu review? Is it hard and time consuming? Any tips for those newcomers? Well, funny you should ask that.
You're the menu review queen.
I am. I've done so many, it's like not even...
Only done one, ever.
Oh, and if you see
Two.
my face,
Two.
this is the face of a menu review. if you do it well, then it is time consuming. If you cookie cut it, absolutely doesn't take any time whatsoever. So what do I mean when I say do it well? So depending on the facility, the amount of money that they have to pay for that menu review, it should involve some sort of nutrient analysis and breakdown of the actual menu. So then you can identify against standards what actually needs to be fixed. So that takes a lot of time. The other is working with the staff and what they actually have budget-wise, what their skills are, etc. And so say, for example, you recommend a particular food or a dish and it's not even appropriate to the season or the budget costs, and that's obviously, that's just going to add extra work. Time consuming is then renovating the menus once you've analysed them. So the first thing is, all right, take the menus, analyse it, collect all the data you need around portion size, around the weights of things. You need to get their standard recipes so then you can compare that.
Do you do wastage?
No, not as a general, because it's extra work, and a lot of the time we're like, nah, funds. So if you can advocate for that, then definitely that is something I would suggest. Most of the time I would do that or offer that as a sort of roll on to try and keep them interested in the regularity of reviews. I have at times just done one off and then I haven't obviously heard back from them, and I'm thinking, oh, you probably do need to do another menu review, why aren't you doing this? And maybe it is around funds, but also potentially it's around offering a little bit more for that service as well, because everybody can do it. But a lot of the time what you find is that if you start to put your name out there and do a good job, they actually will obviously just keep you coming back and keep reviewing your menu. So you do have to then have other things in your bank to obviously provide that little bit of extra point of difference. So on average it would probably take, look, legit, if I was doing it full time, it would really 15 hours, I reckon. 15 to 20 is what I allow, and that includes all the baseline assessments, collating the data, rewriting it, analysing the menus. Often I'll find new recipes for them as well, or I'll modify them. I've completely rewritten an entire standardised menu, recipes and standardised menus for aged care facilities. That's been fun. But sometimes what's best and what they should be doing is not what they are doing, so you've just got to be really mindful of that. So particularly any tips, I would definitely become aware of the guidelines and what you're comparing them against, depending on what facility you're reviewing. So whether it's a childcare facility, whether it's an aged care, whether it's prisons or other sort of commercial facilities, a lot of the time there actually is no guidelines for some of those things either, and a lot of people then just want you to review their menu and like, well, what do you want to mean? Like, what do you want? So being really clear in what they actually want from that service, so whether they do need to meet accreditation guidelines and whatnot as well. So ask those questions initially, make sure you cost out appropriately, because as I said, it is time consuming. They don't understand exactly how much work goes into the background of it. So make sure you do appropriately charge for your time, and also make sure you've got the skills and capacity to do it in the first place. Otherwise, don't bother. Nah. Sorry, because it could be really efficient if you've got a really good base and you've got your process of doing it. So, yeah.
If someone was doing it for the first time ever, how long do you reckon it would take them?
20, 25 hours.
Full hard out. Yeah,
because you've got to establish your tool and your assessment, like pro forma to start with. That, for me, at the beginning took me so long.
Do you work with a chef at all?
Most of the time not, because a lot of my stuff I'm doing distance. I have at times visited some of the sites that I've done menu reviews on. A lot of them though don't always have chefs, or they change a lot.
Yeah.
So really, it may not matter. A lot of the time if I'm looking for more information, the facility manager might actually go and approach the chef and then come back to me with that information. And so I suppose I am working with the chef, but maybe not one-on-one, because there's generally not one person involved.
Cool. Good answer.
Alrighty.
Is that it?
That's it.
Done. Dietitian.